fellow Toastmaster, most welcome guest. From rags to riches. For me, I never thought that I was poor. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute. About a year ago, my sister was talking to me on the phone, and she was really praising what all my wife and I had done for our kids. We raised great kids, and I'd really made it. I'd really been successful. So then the discernment process. I had to try to comprehend, was she really talking to me, or did she get someone confused? So for the last year, I've been kind of looking back, and I already knew a lot of things. I started putting it all together. Actually, growing up, we thought we were probably middle class, but we weren't. And one of the reasons I can discern that is because while growing up, I went to school on a Pell Grant. I don't know if anyone in here knows what a Pell Grant is, but it's a federally funded grant that will pay your tuition to go to school, to college, and then you don't have to pay that back. So that's what I went to school on, and it's basically for poor people. So I actually kind of learned that. I didn't really realize that it ever was that way, that it was that way. So I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama, and I went to school for 2 years, and I learned to be a designer in the areas of structural, civils, electrical, and mechanical engineering. And after working at a software engineering firm for about 5 years, the recession of the early 90s hit. And just there were no jobs. And if you know anything about the area that I grew up, it's just an area that's always saturated with engineers anyways. So once you have a recession, it really means more. So I was looking for a job, and I really started a big migration. So this is the part that you need to hang on to your seat, because I'm going to go really fast. I'm from Huntsville, but then I moved up to work at a naval base up in Crane, Indiana. Then I went back to Huntsville. From Huntsville, I went down to Birmingham back to Huntsville. Then I went from Huntsville to Boston, Massachusetts to, where did I go next? To Salt Lake City. It even confuses me quite often. To Salt Lake City, from Salt Lake City to Long Beach, California, Long Beach to Denver, Colorado. While I was in Denver, I actually worked on a couple of assignments from there, and I worked up at the Tacoma Narrows Bridge project up in Washington State, and also down in Arizona on a project. But then once I left Denver, where did I go to? I keep getting confused. So actually from Denver, I went to San Diego, and from San Diego to Las Vegas to Redondo Beach, where I live at now. Now looking back at all this, I really hadn't put it all together until pretty recently. But it's that experience that really propelled me, because I've been able to work as an environmental engineer, as a structural engineer, civil engineer, office engineer, resident engineer, just to name a few. But it was that concentrated experience that led me along the way. But I also am able to look back, and we learn so much from these different places that we lived at. I ran into a teacher one time, and I commented that I really didn't like having moved away. And she commented that your children probably learned more than they could ever learn being on a journey like this, because they learned so much in so many different ways in the different cities that you lived in. So that helped me quite a bit as well. So the opportunities that I've been able to grasp is a lot more than most people. I look at my specific situation, and if I compared myself to a person who's been in the same position, living in the same town for the last 20 years, I probably have 4 to 5 times the experience that that person has, because of my diverse experience of working around. At this point, I learned so much, and I would encourage you to really look back on the things that you did in your lives. Sometimes you'll see things that you may perceive to be bad at the time, that were not so good, and there were maybe a lot of great opportunities that you learned. But I'm still trying to discern who my sister was talking about, because I'm not rich. But then I look around, that each one of us in this room are rich. Why? Because we know what we can do to move to the next level. We've learned so much in our lives, and most of the people that you see in the Toastmasters group immediately they have an advantage over most people because they have learned these things along the way and definitely have grown significantly. And for me, that's what I would ask you to do. Take a look at your background, see where you can grow and all the different aspects of your life. Madam Toastmaster.
Yay!